Huh?
Yeah, they're live. Okay, we're live.
All right, guys. Good to have you here. We appreciate you YouTubers following us. If you haven't yet, please click subscribe, and we hope that you enjoy the proper sound that Matt has dialed in for us. So
Yay.
we're gonna get started.
All right, you guys. This episode is a little bit different. We just want to walk through we identified 6 steps that you guys went through that really shifted everything, changed everything in your relationship.
Yeah.
And so we'll just kind of do it in story form and talk about the process that you went through. And I'm just going to ask you some questions. I guess it's kind of like I'm doing an intake with you guys, and
Okay.
just like getting
Cool.
your story and asking questions. So the first thing, one thing that I want to say is, you guys haven't been healthy forever. It's not like there you
We're
they
there,
just
guys.
start cracking up.
Little do
Yeah.
you know, we were crying last night with someone helping us shift. We're
Right,
still
you're
making
still working
growth.
and
Yeah.
changing, but there was a long time where you guys were where a lot of our audience is, struggling, suffering through, feeling stuck, feeling hopeless, and then things started to shift for you. Talk to me first about that place of hopelessness and just feeling stuck, and what that was like, and how you felt stuck, and tell me about that. What was that like?
I don't know
for
about you, Ashlyn, but my mind goes to our first house, and where things really escalated in its hopelessness. Where you had your miscarriage. I remember that was also when I had the first when I had the emotional affair, the first affair, and it was a very explosive time for us, where betrayal trauma was probably at its heightened peak for you, and that was, I think, when we were lowest. I mean, I remember going to church and on Mother's Day, and we didn't even sit next to each other.
And I sat and cried. It was awesome.
It was kind of, looking back, that was a really heart-wrenching place to be in, because it wasn't just that we were stuck. I mean, it's almost like we were stuck and spinning our wheels, getting kind of like deeper and deeper.
And we were alone. We didn't tell anyone. And so I
Yeah.
would go hang out with friends, or I'd go to work, and I was successful there, and I had
Right.
really good friends, but
So
it
on
was
on the outside,
it was fake.
yeah.
I don't know if you know that feeling. Maybe you don't, if you live an authentic life. But when you don't live an authentic life and can be true to who you are, it's hard to be around people and have a conversation.
But Ashlyn, I don't think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think your intention was to be fake. It's just
No.
you didn't know how to open up to people and get support and tell people how you were really feeling and where you were really at, and so you just feel isolated in that pain.
Yeah, and moreover, did we feel? It wasn't just that. It was, I didn't want people to know.
Yeah, and
I
felt
hid.
the same way. I defended his behaviors and protected him because I felt it was a reflection on me.
Yeah.
So kind of a selfish thing to do, but also
Well,
this loving
and
protection.
what you guys are describing is how shame creates secrets, and living a secret life, and projecting one thing out to the world, but keeping that shame, and that's where you just feel shackled down, stuck.
It was heavy.
And then on top of it, you have the addiction thing, which is like, gosh, I'd want to stop this thing, but I can't. It just keeps going and going.
Well, and there were times, and you guys know this, we did try to go to therapy, and we would try to, we'd here and there, we'd reach out and say, somebody help us. Right? There's got to be answers, and we could not find them.
Right. So you'd go to therapists, you'd hope that there was like some hope. You'd hope that there was some answers, and then you'd try the things they were giving you or listen to them, and it just didn't get better.
Like hearing, okay, Ashlyn, this is Coby's issue. So Coby go to 12-step, and Ashlyn, this is on him. This is not your thing.
And I took that and ran. Do nothing.
But why wouldn't you, though? Right? If that's what the therapist
But it
said.
doesn't bring hope. Because how's this going to get better if I have no control?
But it probably was relief in some sense. That it's like, oh, this isn't me. This is really Coby. Okay, cool. Well, it's not on me. So douche, go to 12-step.
It didn't help.
All right. So number one step to the healing process is finding hope again. is actually believing that absolutely you can shift and you can change.
Yeah.
So, and when you're in that hopeless state and you're in the place where you guys are describing, where you're trying and you're stuck and things aren't getting better, it's really hard to know how to find that again and what to do. Okay. All right. Next question for you guys. Rebuilding trust is important in the relationship. And part of that is, well, not part of it, a huge part of it is being honest, and facing the music, dealing with what is. And so disclosure, starts to happen. And how'd disclosure go for you, Coby?
Well, I mean, I would.
Ashlynn starts cracking up.
She's laughing.
He did such a great job.
Yeah, it was amazing.
He was phenomenal.
I was like building trust like every day. No, the truth is that I would relapse and then would wait like a week, 3 weeks. I would pretend like, okay, if I wait long enough, then it won't be that big of a deal. Because if I see her now, like she could leave me. Yeah. Or she's just going to hate me, or she'll lash out, and it'll be horrible, and I'll feel even worse than what I already do now.
And you use certain tactics and strategies to...
I'd share the least amount possible.
Yeah, the trickle-out effect.
Yes,
right?
The least amount possible, just to test the waters.
Yeah, he would trickle that truth out and see if I was a safe place. And I was not, had no skills. I was hurting and didn't know what the heck was going on. And so I'd lash out.
Right.
So, of course, he's like, well, okay, that's all you get.
Okay, I'll just give you a little piece. And that is so destructive.
For
it's
trust.
It's the opposite of building trust, because what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I'm getting honest, but you're not really. Right. And then
why won't you tell me that I'm freaking out?
Yeah, and then you're freaking out. And so it's important to understand what a healthy disclosure process is. And, you can take something, this is going to sound backwards, but usually the way that you disclose things, it causes more betrayal trauma, it causes more pain. Mm-hmm. But if you do it the right way, it can actually start to create that trust-building process. And
that's what it did for us.
It's kind of funny what you said before we started. We were talking about disclosure, and you're like, well, I didn't do it that bad. I just trickled it out over time. And we're like, that's the worst.
Yep.
Yeah, that is as bad as it gets. So
yeah, I did do that.
There are specific things and important things that you probably don't think of, and they're not natural to do, that are critical to really make that disclosure process productive for moving forward.
Right.
And so they're important to understand.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. The next thing is, and Ashlynn, I'm sure you can speak to this, but we talk about boundaries a lot, and authenticity and being honest in your relationship. How do you go from, or actually speak to what it's like to not be boundaried? What was that like for you guys?
It showed up in all areas of my life. So I said yes to everything, and then I had tons of resentment. Look at what they asked me to do. Can you believe this? And I wanted people to validate how crazy other people were, when in reality, I could have said no.
Yes.
I could have said, this doesn't work for me. Let's see, what else?
So you're spinning out in crazy because you're just Mrs. Yes Ma'am, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would even say with like how recovery, staying sober was for you. Mm-hmm. I wasn't boundaried there. I didn't know who I was, and that I wasn't that I was worth something.
Right.
And that how he was choosing to show up for me wasn't okay with me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel value from myself.
Right.
And I had to figure that part out.
I think I heard 4 times this week from women that I was talking to. My husband's, dating women online. He's acting out. He's doing this. He's doing that. But I don't know how to confront it, and I don't want to upset him. And he'll tell me that I'm horrible for, snooping on him or trying to change him or whatever. And what I'm hearing is, them lacking the strength to step into their truths, to be honest and boundaried in that relationship. And for good reason. There's fear there that's undermining their ability to be vulnerable and honest in the relationship. But it is, the thing about it is when you sacrifice yourself for your relationships, then you're not going to have good relationships. And so it all goes down the toilet. When you can start to step up in that honest truth and know what healthy boundaries are, not control, but healthy boundaries are, then the healing process can really kick in, right?
I thought it was super empowering. Like, I started showing up for me, and it felt empowering. It felt beautiful. It wasn't a harsh feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I got this now. It was like, I got this.
No, you didn't have to like swing to the other side of the pendulum and be like, here I go. I'm,
You're terrible.
Yeah, and I'm gonna like stick it to you. It's like empowering, and you feel peace, and there's some facing fear and courage that it takes, but you feel peace in it and stepping into it. So, and Coby, the other side of it too is, we talk a lot about, the betrayed learning how to have boundaries in the relationship. It's really, really important for the indulgent to step into his power and know who he is and be authentic and have healthy boundaries in the relationship. That will actually build trust in that relationship because you're showing up honest.
Yeah,
right?
I thought trust was built by
Compliance.
being a chameleon, being compliant in all kinds of relationships. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I would just roll over and shrink and not in our relationship, because I was like, well, if this is the role that Ashlynn needs me to be, and I don't have any leg to stand on, but just to take what she's going to give me, then okay, that's what I do, because I don't know who I am, and I'll be the chameleon at work, I'll be the chameleon with her family, with my family, but I had no idea. I really did have no idea who I was.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And so once we actually could get to truth about who it was a very, very new, foreign, but at the same time empowering feeling.
Yeah. Okay. So you've gone through the hope finding process. Okay. Disclosures happen in a healthy way. It's laid on the table. Now you're both showing up authentically and boundaried, but something still happens, and what that is your brain still triggers. You're triggered into fear. You're triggered into urges and cravings for the addiction. Like your brain still, your brain doesn't automatically those things just go away on a biological level.
Because it still has pathways of how to deal with stress and discomfort and hard things.
Right, and a lot of those pathways lead to disconnection.
Yeah.
They lead to control. They lead to unhealthy attachment things, right? Unhealthy things in the relationship. And so it's important. And did this happen for you guys? I mean, you're going along the process, but triggers still come. And was it that way for you guys?
For sure. It was like that natural human response of, hey, you've been hurt. He's done this before, so don't trust this new thing that's happening.
Right. Even though you could take a step back and say he's changing.
Yeah,
He's
doing the things,
right?
Right?
But he gets home late from work, or he is text messaging somebody.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Where were you?
That still comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and urges and cravings still come up to act out. I mean, even after you're working recovery, you're going to therapy, you're going through these processes.
Yeah, I
right?
still feel the internal grind, the internal, like the turmoil inside, and that was just like, it was so hard. It was so hard to face because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have a skill set to know how to do that. Yeah. It was so foreign, and in a lot of ways, I felt like a kid, or it was because like emotionally,
right?
Because I didn't know how to do this.
Right. The beauty is our brains are, we call it neuroplasticity. They can actually change. You can create new pathways, but you need those tools.
Yeah,
you need to know how, and how to take control of your brain and not let your brain have control of you. So.
Yes.
All right. The next step is hard and awesome, and it's what we all desire, and that's building reconnection again, intimacy. So, and it can be really difficult when betrayals come in. It's shattered some things. It can be difficult to want to engage in a real vulnerable, intimate way again. Yet, usually that's what both partners are wanting to do, but they're really not wanting to do it. I'm not only not wanting to do it, but like
being really afraid on two fronts for me. Number one is being afraid of talking something other than the weather, than sports, than just pleasantries, work.
That's so true. You used
Like
to say, like, I want to just have a really good connecting conversation. I'm like, okay, well, what does that look like?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got
He
no
had
idea.
no idea.
But
what do you mean? A good conversation?
it was
Huh?
like
But he wanted
the
it.
dinner table
Yes.
conversation. Like I did not know how to do anything other than that. So I wanted reconnection, and yet at the same time I was scared, but I didn't know how to do it.
Right.
And so what began to happen in recovery is as we began to like read like for instance like read Brene Brown,
Yeah.
and start talking about shame, then that gave us material literally like
To talk
to
about.
reflect on and then to talk about. And so what happened is the reconnection, Brandon, started to happen intellectually. Like an intellectual intimacy began to develop where we're like, okay, this is how shame showed up for me, because oftentimes in Brene's stuff she'll talk about like family of origin, experiences and so forth, and I was like, I had those. This is what happened that time when I felt shame, or this is how shame showed up with my mom, and this is how it affected me. And it's like, oh my gosh. So there was this really interesting intellectual discovery process that we went through and just studying shame, and all of a sudden we began to be vulnerable by sharing stuff that we had experienced previously.
It's awesome.
It was cool, but it was so foreign.
Yeah.
It was so foreign.
And then, you're sharing stuff like that. You're learning together. But then, things start to layer. So as that trust is really being built and you're able to go to more depths with your intimacy, sex isn't sex, it's making love. And your emotional connection, and then your spiritual connection. And, it's interesting when I work with couples, they sometimes I'm talking to a couple and I'm like, you don't even understand what is out there, what is available, how good love really does feel. And if you allow yourself to take these risks and go through this process of healing, you're going to experience something that is the best thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
You guys know what a kintsugi bowl is? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So Google kintsugi bowl. I think it's Kun.
Oh, the broken?
Yeah. So it's a Japanese bowl. They break it. It's like a porcelain bowl or something, and then they seal it together with gold. And so the broken bowl that's sealed together with gold is worth a lot more than the original bowl, and it's actually stronger, I think. And so that's what starts to happen with recovery is you take this broken thing and it becomes awesome. It becomes amazing and beautiful, but it's way different than what you thought you had.
Yeah.
But it's so much better, and that's what the last step is the path of recovery. Recovery, it's kind of like this, and you guys tell me your experience with it. It's like when we had our first child, and it's like, yeah, having a kid, that'll be fun. I had no idea the depths of love and connection and excitement that I would feel about having a child. It's recovery. You think, oh, recovery's great. We're gonna like not masturbate and be happy, right? No, it turns into creating so many things in your life that are so beautiful and so good. And as you walk down that path, everything starts to change, right? Was that your guys' experience?
Yes. That's my favorite part. And it is really where I started to find all of me, right? It was the things that I'd always wanted. It's the things he'd always wanted. And all of a sudden we were actually doing them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was like working. And it wasn't just for like 2 months. It was like, what are we, 5 years or something? And it's like, oh my gosh, like we are living what we didn't think was possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you hope for love and connection, and that will happen if both people are really genuinely working their recovery. But there's also the other things, which is you feel more in alignment with your purpose and your truths in your life. You're living your life on the surface, and it just, you become a warrior in it. There's a cause. And you start to connect to other people in more meaningful ways. And it's amazing what recovery really does create. So
Yeah.
so I want to review the 6 things that we went over. So first is finding hope. Second is coming out with everything in the right way, disclosure, facing the hard things. Next is learning how to be authentic and honest and boundaried in a relationship. The 4th thing is dealing with fear and moving through that fear. Next is healthy intimacy and connection. And lastly is understanding the path of recovery and what that means. And so I was talking to our producer today, and we released Shattered Trust to Thriving Connection, and it's $450. And what we do is we walk people through the process of each one of these things. We give specific tools. We show them how it works. One thing we were saying is we don't do it for you. We can't.
Yep.
We can't. But we guide you through it. We give you the steps. If you follow the things that we give you in that course, then you will experience the things that we've talked about today.
The shift.
Right? The shift into those things. And for $450, we've taken what I do in a year and a half of therapy with a couple, and through your guys' experience and expertise and through my expertise, we've laid it out there for them to really experience that transformation. And it's awesome. I'm so excited about it.
The cool part is it only came out just days ago, okay? And we're already getting people. I checked the emails this morning, and they're like, where's the next week? We need module 2. They're like, give this
Hungry.
to me. And we've laid it out, so it is a 6-week program. So we're going to give you a week for each one, so you can sit in it and really think and take your time and have access to it.
Yeah, one of the questions was, hey, where's the rest of mine? and we intentionally, you get 1 week at a time, because you go through a process of healing, and it's not a checklist. We didn't develop this just to have something out there so people can buy it and yay, we're experts. We want you to heal, and we give you that process of healing. And we got a comment yesterday or a couple days ago that was like, hey, I watched module number 1, and I'm just like moving my emotions through me. I'm thinking about it. I know how to do it. It feels good. And she's working toward peace. She's going through that process. I love that. It's awesome.
Yeah, it feels good. We did put our heart and souls into this program because what you say is true. We're all in this with our hearts, hoping that you guys can make that shift.
This shift represents a process that obviously, like we talked about, that we went through. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's because you've enjoyed the 3 different perspectives on various topics. But now you get 3 different perspectives on the process of shattered trust to thriving intimacy. And the cool part about that is that there are people, like you guys, I don't know if you know this, but we have listeners in Iran. We have listeners in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
We have listeners all through Asia.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere, and a lot of them don't have access to a therapist or to content to walk them through a process of rebuilding trust to a place of having thriving intimacy. And that's one of the reasons why we created this, is because there are people that don't have the resources necessary. And some of them have resources, right? But not all therapists are like the expert, Brannon. And so they need additional help. And that's exactly what this was built for, is say this is what our process was. Now, that's not to say that our process needs to be everybody's, but this is what worked for us. And given the depth of experience that we've had in Brannon, in your practice for well over a decade, and the time, Ashlynn, that we've had in our own experience of recovery, but also how we've coached people along, we've brought all that and put it into to this program. So it's something that we're happy and grateful to provide, but we're also really, I guess we're proud of it in some sense, because this is stuff that we wish we would have had.
So I said it was $450, but that's the launch price, right? So that's only for the first week, and then it's half off
Till August 20th, midnight Pacific time.
Okay, August 20th, midnight Pacific time. So if you want it at that price point, then get on it. Pull the trigger. Come join us in the process of real healing.
Honestly, I have to stop because my heart is pounding. I just looked down at my bracelet, and it's a bracelet given to me when I spoke at the Togetherness Project, which is actually where I started this whole process. And it says, "There's no force equal to the strength of a woman determined to rise." And I can't help but think of that's who is listening. People who are just determined, like, I'm going to shift. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to find the right tools and make this happen. And so we're finally giving them to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's here. It's not just the podcast anymore. It's more.
Yeah. Have hope. For those of you who struggle with addiction or who have indulged and have broken trust, I want you to have hope that it's possible to change. If you guys only knew me when I was in douche mode and I was acting out addiction, you would understand.
How he has
yeah, it's
this
like
podcast.
how on the green earth did this happen? But the truth is that it is possible to change. It is possible to heal. It is possible. This is one of the coolest things, is to hit tough moments in life and not automatically go to, I need to act out, or I want to look at porn, or I want to have a conversation online. It's life without those things is so rich, and it's possible for you. It's possible for you.
Your relationship can be a pretty beautiful kintsugi bowl. Right?
Yes, yes.
Make it happen.
Yeah, we put the links down in the details below, and you can always go to shatteredtothriving.com. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
All right, we'll see ya.